Every town has a ghost story that's been passed down through the generations. But what if those legends were true? My name is Miranda Young, and I'm the Ghost Biker.
Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome back to the Ghost Biker Garage. I am your host, the Ghost Biker, and we have a great show tonight. I want to thank everyone who's already on here in the chat room. If you have any questions for me or tonight's guest, go ahead and put those in the comments over there. If you can, try to put them in all caps, just so, you know, as we're having the conversation, if we can't get to the question right away, I'll be able to go through and find those and be able to answer those, you know, really quickly without losing your question or without, you know, losing and interrupting the guest during the conversation. So hope everyone has had a great week. I know we've had a really busy week there at the historic Scott County Jail. Tonight, I am back in the garage. Happy to be here, happy to be on live tonight, and happy to be on with tonight's guest. Just a couple things that are going on. We do have a couple flashlight tours this weekend that we still have a few tickets for. Those have been selling out really quickly, but we do have a few tickets for Friday night's 7 p.m. flashlight tour, as well as the 9 p.m. flashlight tour as well. And then we will also be having well, actually, I'm going to be doing an investigation myself. I started filming last week at a specific location for season 5, and I'm lucky enough to get to go back this week to do a couple more experiments based on what we had going on last week. So I hope you guys can hear me okay. For some reason, I feel like I'm hearing some feedback here, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay on this. If someone could just let me know over here in the comments. But anyways, going to be filming for that on Saturday night, and then also this coming week we will not have a Ghost Biker Garage next weekend or next Thursday. I'm going to be, I can't really say a whole lot about it, but I'm working with some investigators out of the Chicago area and filming a documentary. So I'm actually going to be hosting that. Super, super excited. When I can say more, I will. Hopefully, I can maybe go live. I know we're going to be doing a little investigating as well. I am not investigating on this documentary. I am just hosting like I do on Ghost Biker. So, again, like I said, super, super excited about this opportunity, but we'll be doing a little investigating with the team. So I may be able to go live while I'm up in the Chicago area next week. So we'll talk a little bit about that as things are going, but just want to say hello to Dr. Sumner, to Janet, Nancy, Alex, Sheila. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Heath, hope you guys are doing well. Yeah, we got a new intro tonight. Just trying something a little bit different other than just the cheesy StreamYard countdown. So put a little intro together for the garage here, maybe tweaking it just a little bit, but I see the compliments there, and so I really appreciate that. Something else that I do want to do, you know, I love visiting not only libraries, but also used bookstores. And so a few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go to McKay's there in the Chattanooga area, and I picked up this really cool book, Dictionary of Superstitions. And if you guys have been following Ghost Biker since the beginning, you'll know that that is something that the episode was built on. Superstitions, folklore, old wives' tales, that sort of thing. You know, I used to spend all that time with my grandmother, listening to her tell some of those different stories. We have a lot of them here in the Appalachian Mountains. And so I wanted to actually kind of take some time. I'm going to try it out tonight. I want to introduce a new segment for the show. I'm going to go through this book, and each show, just pick a random superstition. And hopefully my guests will, you know, because I have guests from all around the country. And so hopefully maybe whenever we start with them, or at least before we wrap up their interview, hopefully they'll be able to tell one of their superstitions that either they have followed since they were a kid, or maybe something that someone has shared with them. So we're going to be introducing that tonight. And, I know tonight's guest is probably going to have one themselves. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab one here. Let's see. So let's see. One that comes up is double fruit. And so, according to British superstition, any person finding a fruit that has grown as double will enjoy good luck. And if the fruit is shared with another person, then both may make a wish. In Austria, a pregnant woman finding a double fruit, they're advised that they should expect twins. I wonder if that's the same thing with maybe like a double yolk and an egg or something. So anyways, like I said, some of these are a little bit longer. Some of them are religious based. Some of them are more occult. Some of them are more regional. So we're going to share one each episode. I know we did that back. We also did a full episode on superstitions, but I covered more biker and motorcyclist superstitions on that episode. So I believe that was the end of last year, so you can actually go back and watch that. But if you've got some superstitions and stuff that you follow, send it to me. Send it to me either via the Ghost Biker Facebook page, or you can do it on the website, or you can send it to me at ghostbikerexplorations@gmail.com, and we'll share it here on the show. Love talking about that sort of thing. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and pull tonight's guest up. Let me get her intro here, because I'm very fascinated by her. We have actually worked together a little bit, which we'll talk about here in the show. I've been on her show before. Just a fascinating lady. And so you may know her as Buffy. Her name's Marie, but she goes by Buffy, and she's been working with the paranormal for over 30 years as a physical medium, clairsentient, empath, and Celtic Wiccan practitioner who speaks to the dead. Her abilities were known to her at an early age of 4, and when she first saw her first spirit. She was given these gifts from the other side for the purpose of being the voice from across the veil. Buffy is also a 25-year occult specialist veteran who uses her gifts to tell the stories and give messages from across the void to those in the living world. She crosses the wanderers and lost spirits back to their rightful place. She's very experienced in house blessings, cleansings, vortex portal closures, and banishment rituals. Buffy can trace her lineage back to the Highlands of Scotland in the 1600s, across the ocean to Salem, Massachusetts, and the Salem Witch Trials, where she is a direct descendant of Miss Elizabeth Gibson and Miss Sarah Jameson, both of which were tried and found guilty of witchcraft. Buffy's abilities have been passed down from the generations in her family, and now to her youngest. She also uses her abilities and knowledge to help counsel all those who are gifted, especially children. So I'm going to go ahead, bring Buffy on. And like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and put those in the comments, because I know we got a lot to talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her on. Hey, Buffy. Whoops. Hey, can you hear me?
Hey, Miranda, how are you?
I'm doing well. Looks like we had just a little bit of a delay, but I think I can see you now. All right. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. Maybe we're having a possibility of a few storms where I live, so that may be an issue as well. It's been very hot here, so we expect that.
Absolutely. So why don't you go ahead and kind of tell us about some of those experiences you had from a young age and how you found your gifts?
Sure. I saw my first spirit at the age of 4, and it was a full-bodied apparition that I saw. I was raised in a very Roman Catholic Italian household with my grandmother, and with being brought up in that religious aspect, it was not gray area. It was always black or white. So, if you passed away, you either went to heaven or you went to hell. There was no in between of any kind. And I That's when I saw my first full-bodied apparition. I can't remember anything earlier than that. So I kind of say that was my first moment when I actually saw a spirit. I happened to be in my grandmother's living room, and I was playing at the age of 4. Remember it like it was yesterday. And she had a green tufted chair, like a wingback chair. And I was playing in front of it and went to go put something on it. And there, sitting in the chair, was a very large, very tall gentleman wearing a suit. And he spoke to me in a language that I was familiar with, but really couldn't understand. And it happened to be Italian. Okay. So my grandmother was doing the dishes. She came in and said, "Who are you talking to?" And I said, "Oh, the man in the chair." And she's like, "Don't be silly. Are you crazy? There's nobody sitting in that chair." And I said, "Yeah, there is. There's a man sitting in that chair. And he's smiling at me." And she said, "Yeah, if there's a man sitting in that chair, describe what he looks like to me." And I told her he was wearing a black business suit, had very large feet. Of course, at the age of 4, everybody is huge. Right. So that's comparison for a 4-year-old. I said he has very dark hair, and he has his eyebrow. One part of his eyebrow is missing. And he's speaking to me and smiling at me. And I said, he's got this like purple stone in like a tie thing. And she immediately got very white, in shock, and dropped the dish that she was drying, and it broke. And she said, "You said he's talking to you." And I said, "Yes, he's talking to me." And she said, "What is he saying to you?" And I repeated what he said in a foreign language. And she started to cry. And she said, "That's my father. My father is the only one who ever said that to me, ever. And he said it to me every night when he tucked me into bed." And she got very scared, very shaky. I said, "We're not going to talk about this anymore. This is nothing we're going to talk about. We didn't talk about it. It's not going to be spoken about in the household." And I saw her father. Her father passed away in 1956. I was born in 1973. So there was no way that I could have known. There weren't any pictures in the household of him other than what she kept hidden away in a hope chest. And it wasn't until after she passed away, when we cleared out the hope chest, that I saw pictures of him. And he had happened to get that scar on his eyebrow from an accident that he had at work. And that was the suit that they buried him in. That took off after that. After that moment, started hearing voices, seeing things out of the corner of my eye, shadows, full-bodied apparitions. They'd talk to me. They'd get really close to me. And they made me feel very weird, like very odd, stomach achy, things of that nature. And at that age, I thought everybody could say them. I didn't know that what I was saying was a ghost, was a spirit. And it got very odd growing up in school. And I would be on the playground and say, "Oh, who's that woman over there, with the blood on her dress?" And the kids would turn to me and go, "You're crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see anybody standing over there." So then word got out, and I was known as Freak Girl, Crazy Girl, Zombie Girl, Dead Girl, Freak of Nature. And it was on from there, and it just grew and got worse. So
was it hard as a kid to tell the difference between what was there and what was maybe a message that you were receiving from, beyond the veil?
They would tell. Sometimes it was like, There would be some that would come to me and I could see through them. There
Mhm.
were some that came in full-bodied apparition form, like you or I would be standing in front of someone and you were solid. And they would whisper to me, like, help me, or they would give me a name or an address or something. And as they got closer, they would make me feel worse. And when I got older, I finally put two and two together that what they were doing to me was making me feel how they passed. So if they got shot with a gun, I would feel the gunshot and I would feel the burning and I would taste the blood, and it would be in that specific area where they got shot. Or if they died in a fire, I would immediately start burning all over. And I didn't know what was going on at the time. And at very first, they really didn't say much to me.
Mhm.
It's when I became cognizant and would ask them questions like, why are you here? What do you want? What do you want from me? I just want to be a normal kid. I don't know what you want from me. I can't help you. Go away. It was very frightening.
Mhm.
And not until I got much older, like in my teens, did I understand that they were trying to get something across. Like they were trying to show me how they passed, or it was, a cold case that had gone, I would do research and say, this is weird. Who is this person? I'd go to the library, spend hours in libraries looking at microfiche and things, at newspapers, and say, okay, oh, this is what this woman, oh my gosh, this is the woman, or this is the man, and they're trying to tell me something. It still kind of amazes me. There are still times when I don't know how I do what I do. It just happens. It just, happens. So, and not until I got much older did I start going ghost hunting on my own, which is not a safe thing to do. I would go in the woods or find abandoned buildings and go in there with flashlights and, look around, say, hello, I'm here. I can hear you, or I can see you. If you want to talk, I'm here. If you want to get a message out, please let me know. And not until much later in life did I find my purpose with the group that I work with now. So I'm still known as the weird person. I'm still known as the crazy
We
person.
all are. We all are.
It doesn't
It's the
bug
only
me.
way to be.
Yeah, it's the only way to be.
So did you have, I know in your bio you talk about, helping people, especially
Mhm.
children who,
Mhm.
are dealing with this. I know
Mhm.
that from other people I've spoken to and just from hearing your story, as a young child, that would have to be something that would be extremely frightening, especially if you don't necessarily have the support of your family. Did you
Yeah.
have anybody who helped you to, one, sort of get through this and also kind of help you to grow that gift, or did you have to do that on your own?
I had one person in my family, and coming from an Italian heritage, they have Italians will tell you they're not superstitious, and I call BS. They are extremely superstitious,
Extremely.
extremely superstitious. And each good Italian household has something that they call ustrega, which in Italian means witch in the family. It's usually a female, someone that they can go to for dreams, figuring out what their dreams mean, blessing babies, blessing marriages, getting rid of something that they call the evil eye or the maloik, things like that. And my aunt, my grandmother's sister, God rest her soul, she was a great woman. And she was this tiny, roly-poly little Italian lady who used to come visit us often. And happened to be one day in particular, and she had she had like epilepsy, I guess it was. And she often was in the hospital for seizures and would come to stay with us while she recuperated. And one day I was about 16 years old when it happened. There happened to be someone in my bedroom that just showed up, and it was a burn victim. And she was extremely scary. They come to me as they did when they passed,
Okay.
the majority of the time. And it had that same smell. And if you're a first responder, or you know what a first responder does, like a firefighter, you never forget what that smell is like. And it's disgusting. And I was extremely frightened. I kept telling her to, go away, go away. I used to hide in closets, under my bed, turn my radio on, put my headphones on really loud so the voices, I couldn't hear the voices. And she was not letting up. So I was backing down the hallway, and I was running down the steps, and she happened to be sitting in the chair. And without looking away from the TV, she said, if you tell them to back up, they go away, or they'll back off. Just tell them to go away. Draw a line in the sand. And I said, wait a minute. You see this woman? And she's like, yeah. And I said, wait a minute. And I was really angry at her. I said, wait a minute. You've known all along that I could see stuff like this, and you didn't say anything to me? You didn't try to help me? And she laughed, and she said, I thought you knew all along. I was waiting for you to come and tell me. And from that point on, she kind of fostered me in a way, and showed me tricks almost of how to kind of dampen them down a little bit, or tell them that, not today. I'm not ready. You're scaring me. Please back up. You're making my stomach hurt. You're making me feel bad. I know you have something to say, but you're scaring me. And she said, now listen, not everything's going to work the same way it does for me. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like trial by fire. You're just going to have to work at it and see what works. And it did. It worked. They did back up. And I said, I'm not ready to listen to you. I'm a young girl. I just want to be normal. That's all. I just want to be normal. And she finally went away, but she kept showing up, repeatedly, until I had gotten to the person that she wanted to leave a message for, to say, I'm okay. I didn't suffer for long. Mm-hmm. And it was an accident, and not to blame anybody. And at that point, when I went to the person and finally found them, they happened to live in my neighborhood. And the mother of the burn victim looked like I was crazy. She thought I was a lunatic. And she, started crying and said, how could you say something like that? Don't ever talk to me like that. And I said, I'm just trying to tell you. And I shied away from it for a really long time. I kept it and said, you know what? I can't do this, because they're going to lock me up for this if I keep, bugging people, or keep thinking that, I can do this. People are going to think I'm crazy, that I need psychological evaluation. And, but that was the person, my go-to. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us here in this plane of existence. She still comes to me every once in a while when I need that little, pat on the back, the reassurance, that you're doing something good. And she's always smiling. She's always laughing at me. And she just shakes her head and does that. What did I tell you? You forgot, remember what I told you. And I'm like, okay, Aunt Angelina, I remember. I'm okay. I got you. She'll come to me with prophetic dreams sometimes, or if she sees her living relatives acting up or doing something silly, she'll say, I told you to tell that person not to do that. They didn't do it when I was alive, and I don't want them to do it now that I'm gone. I'm like, okay, I'll tell them. So it just grew. I mean, and, not until I met Spirit of the Sword and met Jeff and Yvonne did I really find my purpose. I always kept saying, what am I supposed to do with this? I can't go knocking on people's door, and saying, hey, uh, your dead loved one has a message, or, is telling you that I know the person who committed the crime, who killed you. So I didn't start really using my gifts, so to speak, in that way until I hooked up with Jeff and Yvonne, and it was like, it was like a purpose. And it was like, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm supposed to do. And it's been a blessing ever since. And I've been with them, I guess, going on 6 or 7 years right now.
Okay.
So it's been quite a while.
Well, I know we've got some comments here. Tim, one of your partners in crime there.
Hey, Tim.
He says you're very gifted, Buffy. And
thank you.
We'll kind of talk here in a few minutes about, some of the things that you and I have worked together and experienced on. But we do have a question over here from Dr. Chris Sumner. She says, do spirits come to you from all over the world, or is it just in your area that you're in?
I get spirit no matter where they are in the world. They just show up. And I kind of think of this plane of existence and the afterlife kind of paralleling each other. And sometimes they will cross, or there will be a rip in the time continuum, I guess you want to call it, and they'll just show up. And I always say it's because I have this beacon. Like, people with gifts like me, I kind of liken it to a vacancy sign. And it's wherever they stop off, they're like, oh, vacancy. Okay, cool beans. She's open to talking to me. So let's just pop in here and see what she has to say, or if she can help me. A lot of times I can't help them because I don't have any connection in Germany or Norway or Japan or wherever. I do try and leave messages on Facebook for someone, maybe if they're friends of mine. I have friends from all over the world on Facebook. So if it hits with them, I'll say, listen, I've got a lady here who is, I don't know, Norwegian, who is trying to get a hold of this person who's named this. If you know them, just let them know that she's saying, hey, I'm fine. You can stop crying over me. I'm good. This was to be expected, and I'm happy, and I see you. I hear you. Just because you're not receptive to me answering or can't hear me, I am always with you. I'm always here. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't, but I get them from all over. It doesn't matter.
I wondered if it had anything to do with, when you said from all over, I wondered if it was because maybe, for instance, you are a connection with someone on the living side, that maybe it draws more because of the connection like that, or if it is just kind of because you are a beacon and you can speak and see and hear. You mentioned you're a physical medium. Can you talk a little bit about the difference and with you, and then the different types of mediumship?
There's all kinds of mediumship. I don't think any of us are cookie cutter, especially with mediumship and with any gift for that matter. I kind of liken it to a snowflake or a fingerprint. You may be similar with what you can do, but there's always that something that can be different. I'm a physical medium, which means I feel how they passed. They literally will make me feel how they died, no matter how horrific it is or how peaceful it was. Say, for instance, if a person died from an aneurysm, a brain aneurysm, they would appear to me, and as they get closer, the pain in my head gets worse, and I know which side it was on. And I'm like, you know what, you got to back up, because you are making me not be able to concentrate because my head is pounding. My head feels like it's about to explode. Or they died from a heart attack, I'll get chest pains. And listen, this person died from a heart attack. My jaw is going numb. My arm is going numb. I'm getting pain in my chest. I feel like I can't breathe. Drowning victims, I won't be able to breathe. I'll feel like almost being submerged in water, like somebody's dunking me in the water and holding me under the water, and I can't breathe. I feel like I'm filling up with water. As far as other mediums, there are just the mediums that can see full-bodied apparition. There are mediums that can just hear spirit, and spirit talks to them that way. There are spirits or mediums that feel things or feel emotion and can say, I have a spirit here. Some of them will make you feel male or female, and you can denote what's male and what's female and say, okay, this person feels like a male. They're making me feel very sad. They're making me feel inconsolable, feel like there was something not right. And then again, like I said, there's those that can hear things, just hear. They'll hear conversation. They'll hear them talk to them, whether it's full-on sentences or just words. My spirit guides know that I like music and that I love movies. Movies and music are my thing. They're my zen. And if I get a spirit who's trying to get something across and I'm not getting it, even with them talking to me, they will show me a clip from a movie. Like, take, for instance, A Few Good Men. And they'll show me the courtroom scene where you can't handle the truth. And I'll say, was this person that is past a male, and were they in the military? Were they part of the JAG? Were they in some capacity in the military with the law, or, in some kind of capacity like that? Or, they'll show me scenes from Titanic, which is the worst thing ever for them to do. It really is, because so what are you trying to say here? Were they named Rose? Was it Jack? Was it, did they have a diamond? Did they drown? Did they, were they on a long trip on a boat somewhere and the boat, went under? So that's how they tell me certain things. Certain songs, they'll play just the chorus, and I will pick it up and I thought, ooh, this is not going to be a good case, because they're playing that the bodies hit the floor. This is not going to be a good day. And everybody in the car will laugh and be like, okay, let's buckle up now and make sure that we have all of our safety gear on with us, because now she's hearing songs like that. No, this is not going to be a good case, I can tell you right now. But that's how they come across. Sometimes when I can't decipher what they're trying to say, I'll ask them to speak up. I'll ask them to get closer to me. Or if I'm still being dense and don't get it, I'll say something like, show me. I'm here to receive you, but I can't, you're whispering, or I'm not getting what you're putting down. You need to show me. And then they'll be like, smack in your face. This is what I mean. Boom. There you go. Oh, okay. I got it now. Okay.
Well, and that explains a lot, because I know you've done some remote viewing. I guess that's what you call it, like a remote reading there at the jail for us. And, some of the things we were talking about involved music. It involved one in particular you mentioned, one of the stories, I believe it was Jerome Boyett was telling the story, and he showed you Floyd the barber. And he he had killed Floyd Winningham. And
Yeah.
so it's interesting to hear your process,
Hmm.
because I would imagine that in and of itself takes a lot of time, but then also you really do have to focus to try to get that clarity, to get the message that they're sending.
Hmm. Yeah, I really do. Uh, Sometimes, and I will tell you that spirit has a sense of humor, that I get that asked a lot. Like, when they pass from this plane of existence into the next plane, do they keep their sense of humor? Are they still as funny? Or are they still the same person that was here in the physical? And very much so. They very much so. If they were a prankster or had an extreme sense of humor, no matter how funny it was or how dirty it may have been, and I'll be like, oh yeah, they're still showing me that sense of humor. And they like to play tricks on me every now and again. And that's the whole, like, Floyd the barber. I'm like, okay, so was he a barber? uh was the name of the city Mayberry? But you're showing me Floyd the barber, and it was like they literally showed me a picture of Floyd, just Floyd. They blocked out everything else, and I said his name had to be Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
His name was Floyd. Or they'll give me words that rhyme. From Matt, they'll say Matt or hat or bat, and I'll say it sounds like Matt, bat, cat. His name was Matt. Okay, Matt. Or they'll show me friends of mine who have similar names or the same name, and I go, his name was Matt. That's my friend Matt. I'm saying, so that's what their name was.
Nice. We've got a few more questions over here. Again, thank you all so much for your questions. Joe says, how can I ask this? Is it possible for you to die from them doing that to you? And what he's talking about is when you were talking about the feelings you were getting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that possible for it to injure or hurt you?
I'm not exactly sure if that's possible, because it's never, well, obviously it hasn't happened, because
Right.
we're talking to each other. But I can very much feel like I'm dying. I feel like I'm dying. And sometimes I still get scared when I see something like that happen, or I see a spirit that shows me how they passed. And I'll ask them to back up to see whether it's me that's actually having the heart attack, or whether it's them that is showing me that they're having the heart attack. If they back up and the pain seems to subside, then I know, okay, it's not me. I'm good. All right, it's you who had the heart attack. I can imagine that would be possible. I don't know of anyone that is a physical medium that has actually died from spirit making you feel how they passed away. It's excruciating, I can tell you that much, and it takes a lot out of you, and you cold sweat. You literally feel like you're going to black out, but then you ask them to back up, or you back up, and that stops you from that moment of passing out. So
and that makes perfect sense.
That's the best I could give as far as an answer for Joe.
No,
it's
interesting question, because I would imagine that could be challenging to distinguish that, from someone that maybe has anxiety attacks, or has, something, and they're starting to get stuff like that happen. That it could be essentially kind of hard to distinguish between, but it sounds like you've got your way of figuring that out.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Each of one of us is different.
Absolutely. Dr. Sumner says, based on your conversations with spirit, what is your interpretation of the next realm and of heaven?
Being the fact that I can actually take spirit and cross spirit over to the other side, they show me, I want to say it's my version of heaven. I think once we get to heaven, it's whatever you were taught. It's, most assuredly that it's not, angels riding on clouds in, togas playing harps and all that good stuff. I think heaven has the ability to warp itself and be as you wish it to be, whether you feel that it's a field with flowers. I do know that it's a very calm realm. And when I lead spirit to the other side, I literally have one foot in this realm of being and one in the other.
Okay.
And it appears almost like, I want to say like you're in outer space almost.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see shooting stars, and it's a star-speckled sky with like nova pink, like wisps of clouds and what have you. It's very calm, and I feel absolutely no fear. It's you're there, and it's almost a feeling of complete and utter compassion, like a warm feeling. Sometimes those that are there to greet others that I cross over sometimes appear in physical form, like their aunt, or there are people that do come get you on the other side. So when they say that there are people waiting, there are others that are waiting. Sometimes they appear as pure consciousness, like energy, and they take the shape of beings, but it's not like physical eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and a business suit or
Right.
a wedding dress. And I can say when they interact with me, those types of beings, it is 100% pure consciousness. It's energy. It's just a feeling like I'm buzzing, almost like your whole body is just buzzing with 100% pure energy. Like it's almost kind of like when you get pins and needles
Okay.
in your arms or your legs, and it's 100% through your entire body. Like your eyelashes buzz and your hair buzzes. They do not let me stay long, I can tell you that, because it's not my time yet. I have one job and one job only. They will not let me place both feet because I have more to accomplish on this side than I do on that side. And I guess maybe for fear of getting lost in that plane of existence, maybe, and just being like in a catatonic state on this side and not waking up. So do I fear that I'm going to get lost sometimes? Yeah.
I can see why.
That tether going, okay, you got me, right? You're going to hold me back, right? Like, okay, we got you. I'm like, okay.
That I can totally understand how that would feel that way. Sheila Brown says, how does one know they have a gift? Also, how can one come into their gift?
Again, all gifts are different. Some people have the ability to see visions, some hear, some feel. There are empaths out in the world that can detect in a naked room if there was an argument, or if they pick up pure emotion and it's not their own. There's a lot of scientific hullabaloo that goes into it. I mean, we can't just say that every child or every person that hears voices or sees things is not having some kind of psychological issue like schizophrenia, or
Sure.
they are having. And that's when like a psychologist or a psychiatrist, make sure that your child is stable, make sure that there's not anything going on at school, or there isn't a history of mental illness in the family. And then go from there. I know that I went through a lot of that with, psychological testing. Is she
Mm-hmm.
crazy? Is she schizophrenic? And I passed all the tests. I was normal to standards.
Mm-hmm.
And my upbringing was healthy. There wasn't any real traumatic experiences. There wasn't any PTSD of any kind. And they weren't there all the time. It's just they came and they went, sort of, until I got old enough that I had to learn how to shut that vacant sign off and be like, okay, not today. We're not doing this today. I've got like an exam to study for at school, or today's going to be a really bad day at work. And if I start talking to myself, we got a problem, because people are going to think I'm really crazy. So yeah, there's a fine line between like psychiatric issues and being diagnosed with something, and being gifted. How do you come into your own gift? That's trial and error. That's really having a connection with someone that you can speak candid, about your gift
Mm-hmm.
to, and seeing what you can do and how far you can go with it. Again, shots fired, trial and error,
Probably
and
very personal.
it's very personal. It's what is good for you. With people that are just starting out, or people who have prophetic dreams that just keep happening. Like they'll have a dream in a row for 3 days in a row, or they'll have a dream that'll be very vivid. They'll say something very poignant to them, or a scene in a dream, and then a day later or 2 days later it happens,
Wow.
and then you're like, oh crap, that it just happened. That really happened. Uh, 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 and it continues to happen. Spirit guides. So I would hey,
Sorry about that.
that's okay.
I don't
I
know
just
if it's
lost
on
everybody
my
for a minute.
end. I don't know if it's on my end or your end, because I'm hearing it thunder here,
It
and
could be your end. Yeah.
it could very well be. But we're
But
back,
yeah.
so
Yep. I'm back, everybody. Yeah. So it's digging deep into yourself and asking spirit guide, okay, I think I may have a gift. Show me what this is meant for. Show me what I'm supposed to do with this. How, and trying to decipher how you go about telling people. Hey, I saw a plane crash happen last night. This was the plane number, and if you're on it, I don't think you should be getting on that plane.
wow.
And knowing when not to say something, because that would mess with fate. That's the big struggle a lot of us that have premonitions like that, is when to say something and when not to say something.
Right.
You know,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Yeah, that
So
would be tough.
digging deep and asking yourself, or asking, lean on your faith. Just say,
Mhm.
if you believe in God, I know you blessed me with something, but what am I supposed to use this for? What purpose does it serve me, or what purpose does it serve you, for me to be able to do this, or to do this? I mean, Obviously, you gave it to me for some reason,
Mm-hmm.
and just guide me and be with me while I do this and protect me every day through this whole process. Um, that's pretty much it. It's, again, trial and error.
So D Hoot asks, do people ask you to call on a spirit for them? And if they do, can you?
Constantly.
I'm sure they
Constantly.
do.
It is a constant thing. Um, I I do, when I have moments to sit with them and convene with spirit. I don't do it when I'm tired. I don't do it when I'm not feeling well. I definitely don't do it while I'm at work, because I do have, like, I call it muggle job. I have a muggle job, and spirit knows that I work from this time to this time, and it is not a good time to speak to me, or I will get to you later. I stand in the wings, stand in the waiting. But when it's right, I'll say, listen, call me tonight at such and such a time, or is it a good time to meet at your house, where we can meet in confidence, just the two of us. And I will ask spirit to come forth. Now, sometimes spirit doesn't want to show up. It's like, I've got nothing.
Yeah.
They've shown up for a moment and now they're gone. Sometimes spirit gets irritated when I call them and say, well, your nephew Bob or Joe really needs to hear from you. They want to know if you're okay. Can I tell them you're okay? Like, yeah, but I don't want to be bothered. That's not often that happens. Usually I can get them to come through and they can ask questions. Sometimes spirit has questions for them.
Mm-hmm.
So it works both ways. It's an open channel both ways. So yeah,
Okay.
I get that often, a lot.
I'm sure you do, especially when people find out or if they know. I would
Yeah.
imagine it's and they may not completely understand that it's not
Mm-hmm.
like just something that you just turn on or that you should just turn on.
Yeah. Yeah. There's appropriate times for it and, not so appropriate times. I'll get people that call me at 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm trying to sleep. And it's like, I just had a dream about my Uncle Joe. Contact my Uncle Joe. Or, what was he trying to say to me? It's like, it's 3 a.m. I was asleep. I thought you literally had an emergency, like your house is burning down, you're stuck somewhere on the road, and you need a ride, someone's hurt. That's when I have to tell people, listen, I'm more than happy to book a moment with you to sit, when I have free time.
Yeah.
But right now is not a good time. So, and most of the time they understand. There's still every once in a while the people that will go, but you have to, but I need you to talk to me. I'm a mom. I'm a daughter. I have things that I need to do. I'm with you when I can speak.
That great answer. And I know, like just from when I met
I don't know.
you,
Did we lose Miranda again? Oh my goodness.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I could still hear you.
Yes, I can hear you. It keeps cutting out.
Okay.
I think that's due to the storm. Yeah.
Probably so. Probably so. So, let's kind of talk a little bit more about some of your background. You were talking about being an occult specialist.
Yes.
See, to me, that's
Being an occult
extremely
specialist.
fascinating.
It is. It's fascinating. And being an occult specialist is someone who studies all religious or all spiritual backgrounds, no matter how dark or how lovely it may be. I mean, you study Satanism, you study the occult as far as all backgrounds of witches, Wiccan, all types of witchery, paganism, all forms of paganism, along with studying Islam, some of the Judaic practices as far as Judaism, Christian, all factors of being a Christian, from Baptist to, Roman Catholic to Lutheran, and you study their practices so that you learn not to appropriate. You learn that, when you walk into someone's home who practices Judaism, the things that you should and shouldn't do, things that you should talk about and not talk about so much. Everything fascinates me. And I got into that by wanting to learn about all cultures, all religious backgrounds. And as far as some speculations that were out there about, Satanists and, devil worshippers, and, once you get to study them before you start condemning them, if you study them, or you ask questions, or go to websites and ask to speak to someone, or email someone to ask them questions, like, for instance, Satan's temple, or the Church of Satan, the Satanic temple. You'll learn if you ask someone, or if you go on their website, they actually don't worship the devil. They worship a figurehead, or they'll give homage to a figurehead that is called Baphomet, which is the goat head with the two fingers up like this, and they'll be sitting on the world with the goat legs. And you'll learn that they do a lot of good things. Like the Satanic Temple does charities for libraries for kids, and school books, and Habitat for Humanity. They are very into freedom of rights, as far as being able to freedom of speech, freedom of bodily autonomy, things like that. And they pretty much say to themselves, they're not out knocking on the door saying, "Hey, I'd like to have a moment to talk to you about our Lord and Savior Baphomet," with the Black Bible in their hand or something like that. It fascinates me to learn the truth. So my big thing is, before you condemn, make sure that you ask the right questions or learn about them.
Well, and that's very vast too. I mean, to take that on, just if you're looking at the Protestant religions, or
Right.
Baptist in and of itself, you've got the old fashioned, you've got the Southern Baptist, just within that one alone, there are so many different ones. Church of God, Church of Christ, Mormons, all of that. And so it's extremely vast. And when I saw that was what your background was occult specialist, I just found that extremely fascinating, because there's so much and so many, even like you said, with, for instance, Church of Satan. And, there's these differences. I don't want to say minor differences, but between just each of those, I guess you would maybe call them a sect, that there are these little minute differences that makes each one of those so different. And to know that, that's a lot of research and study.
Yeah, everything fascinates me. I gear myself towards more the weird and odd. Like, what makes them so bad? I mean, do they really do black masses? Do they really do everything that's bad that people say that they do? And a lot of it is hearsay and ignorance, because you don't want to learn. You just want to, because it's not your specific preference of spirituality or religion, then it's the wrong way to do things, and they should be shamed and stuff like that, when it's really not. I mean, they don't. The same thing with me, because because I'm classified as a quote unquote witch.
Mm-hmm.
I get a lot of, when I go on a case, that they'll say to me, "Oh, you're not anything I expected." You know, I'm like, did you expect like the pointy hat and the broomstick and the cauldron and all that good stuff? Well, you know, I don't have a wart on my nose, obviously. We do all wear black, and there is a reason for that. And the broom is in the shop. The cauldron was too heavy to bring, and you're lucky I don't eat children, only on Tuesdays, and today is Saturday, so your kids are safe. You know, I don't yeah, we don't do any of that. I don't eat children. I don't have a wart on my nose. Last time I checked, I didn't have one.
Well, do you
silly
find,
stuff.
because, you know, we get the question a lot when it comes to dealing with the house cleansings and the blessings and that sort of thing. Do you find that it is based on, so if a person has, I don't want to say a problem in their home that they need help with, do you find that it's based more on the person in the house's belief system, or is it the person who passed on that they're dealing with and their belief system that you really have to kind of focus on when you're, because, you know, they'll talk about people calling a shaman or people calling a priest,
Right.
You know, yeah. And so if you're not of that faith, does that matter? What? I may not be asking the question right.
No, you're right. You're right. I always say that if there is an issue, say in the way of like a curse or a hex or something like that, that whatever religion put it there has to take it back. So that's where the occultism comes in. So if it's a, like, say, Christian issue, I work with a group of 3 wonderful people who are very Christian driven, and it's great that they let me do my deal, and you know, they are not afraid of it, and they're there to help me with anything that I may need. And because I was brought up Roman Catholic, I do remember all the prayers. I remember the Bible readings. I remember, you know, how to say the rosary. So it's whatever they need to help them. I'm willing to hold a cross. Right. I'm willing to hold a cross. I'm willing to spread holy water around. And Yvonne always says it all goes to one purpose, and it's that is for the purpose of good, and that God would not punish someone who's trying to do good, no matter what religious belief they are from. So as long as it goes to the purpose of good. I've done house blessings for Native Americans where I've played Native American music. I've smudged with sweetgrass. I've smudged with dragon's blood, sage, cedar, rosemary, things that they are familiar with. And when I do the house cleansing, I make sure that I am very mindful of the Native culture, and I kind of put myself in their position. And at the end of each blessing outside the home, I go towards the back of the house outside, and I will leave them an offering of tobacco or smudge or sweetgrass or berries of some kind for the animals, letting them know that, you know, I respect you, and that I may not be part of your culture, but it's all based on respect, and that I'm honoring your spirit being here, but you can't be in this person's home. You're scaring their children, even though you may not mean to. That's what you're doing. So I need you to calm down. If the family allows you to stay, then that's okay. But you can't, kick off and, start raising a ruckus in the house around the kids because you're scaring the kids. Please keep it outside. And I let them know that this land is yours and I'm leaving you an offering. The family really doesn't want you in the home, but you are allowed to stay along the tree line where you feel comfortable. And I mean, no disrespect, but you have to be mindful of the family and take heed to what the family wants. I understand that you may be angry that they are a white man and they are on your property, but we need to come to a mutual understanding. Okay. They were not the original settlers that, took your land. But if we can come to a mutual agreement of you staying on the property and them not bothering you, you don't bother them. And I ask them to be respectful and to leave offering to you like once a month. Maybe go out and put some tobacco along the tree line. When you go to the grocery store, get an extra basket of berries and leave the berries at the tree line for the spirits. Letting them know that they are welcome, just not in the house.
Right.
And don't bother the children when they're outside playing on the swing set. I'm very mindful of the religion of the family as well. Making sure that if we were to say blessings, my Yiddish is terrible. I will tell you that. My Hebrew is almost non-existent. But I will join them in prayer and blessings and, say a few words. And I will, if I have to Google something and I'll say, I do apologize, but my Yiddish or my Hebrew is horrible. So if I screw this up, I mean, no disrespect. I'm just trying. And they usually laugh and we understand. So we'll help you out with all the hard words, it's okay. And as long as it's a mutual agreement, everything is good. And, I make sure that I leave no trace behind of me being there. Mm-hmm. So if it's a house blessing and I use sacred salt, I make sure that I keep it there for a little while and then I sweep it up. And then I take it to dispose of it. Because you're not supposed to leave it on the land at all, ever. Just take that and put it away, far, far away. Because it carries negative, what I would call negative dirt. So that's what I do. Mm-hmm.
Well, and that kind of transitions a little bit. I know you're a podcast host, and you just recently did a show on family curses. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of transitions a little bit, talking about, based on the religion and that sort of thing. You cover some great topics on your show. Can you kind of share briefly, what your show is, some of the things? And, I love your little lives that you do. I don't always get to tune into them when they're actually live.
Oh, thank you.
I usually end up catching them because for some reason, the way Facebook is, it's one of those things you don't get notifications from everybody. And so I'll usually see it when I'm scrolling through the timeline. Right. And you have such a great energy and very positive and a lot of fun when you're doing that. And so let's talk just a little bit about your show, some of the things you cover and where people can find that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for watching. I didn't even know you caught them. But yes, I do 2 podcasts. One is on Thursday nights that we just did prior to being with you, called Paranormal Talk 2. And that can be found on Spreaker. Spreaker is a podcast app that you can download for free. It's just going to ask you to use a username and a password and all that jazz. And I do that with Tim Hopper, who is my co-host, who is actually our producer of the show, who's in the chat. Hi, Tim. And we will cover on Thursday nights. It's more or less, we will cover a lot of aliens because Tim loves aliens. So we will definitely cover aliens, which is a lot of our conversation. He always sneaks aliens in there, no matter what we're talking about. It was all aliens that did it. I swear, it was aliens. And we laugh, and we'll talk about cryptids, UFOs, urban legends, myths, things of that nature. And it's really lighthearted. The people that are in the live chat, it does have a live chat, just like we have here, where our audience, we call them family members, can actually become part of the show. They can leave questions, comments, concerns, ideas for brand new shows. If they want to hear a specific topic, they can ask to be a special guest on the show. And that appears every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also do a Saturday show that I do with someone I call him Bro, and it's great because
brother from another mother.
My brother from another mother, my WT, my Wonder Twin. He coined the phrase Wonder Twins, and it's Jim Spillin. Him and I work on the same team together. We work on Spirit of the Sword Paranormal, and it's almost like he is my brother, because we've gotten to the point now where the two of us on investigations or on cases don't even have to say anything to each other. We'll just look at each other and we'll know exactly what the other one is thinking. We also like to crack each other up. We'll just look at each other and start busting out laughing for no reason. There he is. There's Bro. And when Tim had given me the opportunity to do my own podcast, he said, well, you can do it by yourself. And I was like, I'm not good talking by myself. I want somebody to do it with, because, I wouldn't know what to say. It's just, I'm used to having a co-host. So I immediately thought of Jim. I said, this has got to be just the two of us, because he would be such a great person. He's very open-minded.
And great energy.
Weird. Oh God, yes. So weird. And he's just like the weirdest sometimes. And he loves going down rabbit holes on the show. It's like, it's a definite rabbit hole, guaranteed at least one rabbit hole every time we go on air. And that's on Corner Cauldron on Saturdays, still on Spreaker. That is at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, same platform where you get to be an active member on the show. We call them family members. And we talk more about, on Saturdays, more about the dark stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, we have found out that on Thursday shows on Paranormal Talk 2, if we mention the word demon, then our show goes completely nuts. Like, we'll, lose connection. Tim will get shot off to Israel somewhere. We won't be able to, something will go wonky on his end of the controllers, or my mic will drop. So we've affectionately call it the D word. We call it the D word. And when we talk about Native American spirits, shapeshifters, we don't use that word specifically what it is, but we all know it's something ranch and it's on TV. We won't say that word because that's disrespectful to Native spirit. But we do get into the dark and sometimes really dark subjects of occultism, black magic, witchcraft, astrology, tarot, things of that nature. And Jim is not afraid. He is not afraid. He will jump in with both feet in a suitcase and be like, yeah, let's talk about demonology. And we're not afraid to say the word demon. It just, it'll slip. And nothing happens on that show ever when we mention the word demon. It's great. We just did a show on, I believe it was, we did a show on the son of Sam, and we kind of do research on it, and we kind of came up with our own conclusions as far as David Berkowitz and his, his take on things, and if we really think that he did it all. We both do a lot of research. He'll tell me to the Bat Cave, and we do. He goes to the Bat Cave and he tacks away, and at the end of each show he does his goblet of knowledge, which he comes up with several weird, crazy, unheard of facts about the subject we're talking about. It doesn't matter what it is. He'll bring it out, and he always mind blown at the end of the show. We laugh a lot. We have so much fun on the show. Our family members, which we call them witchlings, we have a lot of fans out there in the audience, which we call family members, that are gifted. Our precipice for that show was to make it a safe place for those who are gifted, who want to learn about their gifts, could possibly be gifted, aren't sure, want to go down a different spiritual path, that they feel safe talking about it, and that they are comfortable with everyone talking about it. And safety is our big thing, and making sure that they feel welcomed. We've had special guests on the show. The fans, they love us to death. They'll crack us up. They'll make comments, and like, for instance, Connor said something one Saturday show. We were talking about haunted objects, and we happened to be talking about the Annabelle doll and Robert the doll. And he said, well, would it be great if Annabelle and Robert got together and had a baby? And then it was #Annabert. So anytime he says Annabert, he'll just randomly come into the chat and just like #Annabert, and we will start cracking up laughing that will lose control of the entire audience. They're great with coming up with subjects to talk about. They know that they can come on anytime to be a special guest. It's 2 great shows, and I'm blessed to have the opportunity with Tim to be able to do those shows. I was a guest on Paranormal Talk too, and I think he found me via way of East Tennessee Ghost Seekers.
Oh, yes.
When I was on with Stephen Brown.
Yes, the Stevens.
The Stevens, and Sweet Tea.
Yes.
I was on their, and Andrea, I was on their podcast, and then I don't know whether he had heard it and then decided that I was interesting, and got in contact with me. And I was on the show, I think, like twice. And he called me one night and said, I want to give you the opportunity to co-host the show with me. Would you mind doing it? Sure. And it just snowballed from there. And it's great to be able to be myself and help people. That's most important, that we let them know they're not crazy. You're not crazy if you're gifted, It's my normalcy to be the way I am. That's my normal.
And that's what's wonderful too about Tim. I can't say enough good things about him. He's going to be on the show in September. I think September 1st is
awesome.
When he's going to come on. He actually gave me my first opportunity of doing a podcast. And so he was the one who actually, where I made the announcement about what I was doing, and I was scared to death, scared to death to go on there. But he and I had talked for a few weeks before we went on to the show. And he was kind of like, this is, kind of what some things to expect. And you need to just be, not worry about things. He made it real calm and just a great experience. And, and then I know I've gone on his show a couple times. And the last time I was on there was when you were hosting with him, and how we met. So just a fantastic dynamic.
Thank you. I think so. And again, blessed to have him and have the opportunity to do what I do and be me on the show. And
Absolutely.
we've never squabbled on the show. We've come to like mutual understandings about differences that we have, and it's like, well, we're not really intent, but okay, I'll go with you. All right, we'll go down that rabbit hole together.
Well, we've got the addresses there in the show notes where people can go and they can
Yes.
listen. We've also got them over here in the comments, so people definitely go check that out so they can watch or listen to past shows by going to those links as well.
Yes,
Okay.
there is an on-demand library for both shows that's accessible to anyone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you don't have to be on the show to actually listen. I tell people that if you're new at this and you just want to pick a couple shows to listen to, or if you're a long-time listener and you've missed, say, a Saturday or Sunday or a Saturday or Thursday, don't hesitate to go back and catch up, because we may be touching back on a subject that you missed.
Absolutely. And so, guys, definitely go check out Buffy's show Corner Cauldron, as well as Paranormal Talk 2 with Tim Hopper, and subscribe to that. Also, go and check out your page, your team's page, the Spirit of the Sword Ministry. And I'm going to put that link right here as well, so that people can go and let's see here. Put that up there. So anyone that goes back, watches the show, it will have the address here in the comments, as well as also shown up on the screen. So
Right.
definitely go and check those out. Let's see here. And one last thing, Buffy, we talked there in the beginning, was talking about superstitions. Do you have any family superstitions, or any that has kind of stuck with you, that you've heard, most of your life, or one that
They can
kind of
also
stands out?
see by hitting the menu, go down and hit testimonials. Yes. Let's see. As far as, I would say, from a Celtic standpoint, because I'm Scottish and a little bit Irish, they used to have a superstition. Most of the Irish people that came over to the United States were coal miners. Scots people included. Scottish were coal miners as well. And they would save a piece of their lunch, and they would save it for what they called the knocker down in the cave in the mine. So they would toss it down the end of the mine. They would leave it for good luck, so that they didn't have a cave in, nobody got hurt. As far as an Italian, what is not superstitious about being Italian? That's just this, what can I say? I know if you have a baby that is not baptized and you have to take it out to the doctors, you must, in all uncertain circumstances, either place a red ribbon on the baby, pin a red ribbon, or a St. Christopher's medal, because you don't know who may be staring at your baby, because they may give them the evil eye, and then they're going to have bad spirits around them, and it's going to cause chaos. So that was a big thing that we grew up with, was always making sure that, before the baby was baptized, if it needed to go to doctor's, hospital, that there was always a red ribbon or a St. Christopher medal on the baby.
Nice. I like that. And since you are talking about your lineage, in your bio, you said you were able to trace your lineage back to 1600s Scottish Highlands, as well as from the Salem Witch Trials.
Yes, I was able to trace my lineage back from, on my dad's side, to almost the late 1500s.
Wow.
And there were several of my relatives that were hung, actually burned at the stake for witchcraft. in Scotland. And I don't think not many people know that the Salem Witch Trials were in the 1600s, but way before that, in the early 1500s, all the way up through the early 1800s, there were the Scottish burnings, and they were the Highland burnings, where 60,000 Celtic men, women, and children were put to death for witchcraft. Wow. And they were taken to the town square, and they were not given a trial. They were put in jail for 2 days. Those 2 days they were tortured, either into a confession, or if they stood fast and still admitted their innocence, they were then immediately taken to the town square and publicly executed. A lot of their choice of execution was burning at the stake and beheading by strangulation with a wire.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah. In Salem, I have family members that came over. I am reportedly related to the Proctors in some strange way. In my family, I've crossed my lines with family members that have the last name of Proctor. As far as Goody Proctor, there were no birth certificates, there were no census taken back then to be able to correlate those two with. But I was related to Sarah Jameson and Elizabeth Gibson. Elizabeth Gibson was supposedly the wife of one of the one of the judges that put people to death. And apparently she spoke up to her husband and said that, she watched the atrocity and said that I can't do this. You can't do this. These are innocent women. They're screaming. You're not giving them a free trial. You're not giving them a fair trial. You're just going by, what somebody's saying. And immediately she was charged with witchcraft because she overspoke her husband. And then Sarah Jameson, she was one of the first. It started out the 19 that we see on the plaques that are in Salem were the ones where it originally started to get news. And it was reported. So you had people from other towns coming. Those were the ones that really raised a ruckus and caused a scene. But back in the 1600s, if you said something or caused a scene, you could have your family charged as well. If your husband stood up for you, they were immediately charged as an accessory, and they were also killed. Just like Giles Corey, who was the last person to die.
Was he the one that was pressed?
He was the one that was pressed, and he knew that he was innocent, and that's why he kept saying, put on more weight, because he knew that his soul would go to God with a clear conscience. And he did it so that his land could stay in his family. If he had confessed and said that he was a witch, his property would have been immediately seized by the church and divvied out as seen fit by the church, which would have left any of his living family members penniless and homeless. And a charge for homelessness was witchcraft as well.
It's really insane. I remember when I was in college, my professor was teaching on the Salem Witch Trials, and he was teaching just the atrocities, and just how inaccurate it is from what we think, how anything and everything. And it was interesting talking about, because that's where what the term colder than a witch's tit in a brass bra.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. And so I remember him talking about the origins of that. And it sounds funny now to kind of look back at some of those things, but they have deep ties rooted in that. Were the executions there in Scotland, was it kind of the same way, as in most of those people were not witches, but falsely accused, or was there more actions of witchcraft there?
There were some actions of witchcraft. It all had to deal with the Christian church coming in, and there was no separation at that time of church and state. So the king had decided that this is what we're going to do. We are going to have a completely Christian population. Anything considered not Christian would be deemed as witchcraft. And there were a lot of family members that were actually still pagans. These are people that believed in the changing of the seasons. There were still a lot of druids, a lot of earthbound spiritual people that would go to a witch to be healed for either a sickness or
a midwife.
A midwife. And a lot of these women were what I guess you would, akin to an Appalachian mountain woman, someone who practiced root magic, someone who you would go to for a toothache or something of that situation, a midwife. And if anything happened to that baby, or the baby was born with some kind of deformity, right away, it was the midwife's fault because you cursed the baby, or if the wife died in childbirth, which was a common thing back then. They didn't do many C-sections. And if they did do a C-section because of a breech birth, it was done in unsanitary conditions because they didn't know any better. They just did what they felt was right. Many people died from infection. You could be walking past your neighbor's farm, and if you walk past and then all of a sudden their cow dropped dead, oh, she was a witch. She needed to be seized for witchery because she caused my cow to die. If you outspoke over your husband, if you were loud and boisterous, or if you were a spinster, at that time, being a spinster, if you were over the age of 25 and not married, immediately there must be something wrong with you. You must be vexed with, the devil inside you, because no man will have you, or you've had a lot of deaths in your family for some reason. You're a witch. And that's a shame.
Yeah.
These women were healers. These women birthed the majority of their community. They were held in high regard in their community as healers. Even if they came to someone and then they cured them from a sepsis or an abscess tooth, which was just of a headache. I can take some bark off of willow away. Is the willow tree. So it was a lot of atrocities that happened. In Scotland, there was a formal apology made within the past 2 years.
Oh, did we lose her?
Hey, I'm back.
That's odd. It's got part of you in here and part of you. There we go.
See, that's the way it happens. When spirit doesn't want you to say something and shut you up, it makes it happen.
That's right.
2 years ago, the Scottish government finally decided that they were going to pardon the 60,000 that they murdered. And it's 500 years too late.
Yeah.
You know, in Scotland, if you go across the Royal Mile, you'll see statues of famous people. Edward the Bruce. You'll see William Wallace. You'll see statues of dogs, like Scotties that held valor and died. Here on this spot. They have some small water fountains on the sides of buildings that come out from buildings that you will see in very tiny print the name of someone who was accused of witchcraft. But
Wow.
there was no statues. They do say, however, that if you walk the Royal Mile, that if you look down and you see there are, I guess, gold plates on the street for every so many yards. On that gold plate was the spot of a witch that was burned or killed in some fashion. They were never given fair trials. We do know that the church held that information. They actually had a log, and a barrister who was interested in the whole situation went to the Royal College and found books that were sealed. And in those books that dated back to the 1500s to 1600s, they found the names of those that were charged. Wow. And the dates that they died. None of them were given a fair trial. None of them were allowed to plead for their life. They were given 2 days of complete torture. If they didn't die in the torture chambers of being racked, beaten, burned, being put in an Iron Maiden, stretched, they were immediately brought outside and held in public execution. Again, some were burned. The majority of them were beheaded by strangulation. They did no burnings in the United States, though, in Salem. That's a big misnomer. They did not do burnings. They were hung. Unless they died in confession by being dunked in a tank. A lot of them were thrown with rocks tied to their hands and their feet, and they were thrown into a lake. And if they floated and survived, they were considered a witch. If they drowned and they died and they sank, they were innocent, but they died. No one would go in and pull them out.
Wow.
Yep. So 60,000 in England, Ireland, and Scotland were killed.
I mean, that's a huge number.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I can only imagine, just how, when you said the gold plates there, I can imagine just how many there would be and how close they would be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And there are no names, no faces to recognize those who had passed, no family lineage other than what they found in the books, and the government still refuses to release the names.
Mm.
Yeah.
And just to think that that's that person's legacy of what they left and what their family that they kind of carried on, it's just awful, horrendous. Wow.
Very much so.
Wow.
So, and I have family members that are buried somewhere. Where they are buried, they don't know. They were unmarked graves. They were just dug a big hole and just dumped them all in there and covered it up.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. But that's fascinating. You're able to track your lineage back that far, and just a fascinating person. I could spend, I could spend so much longer sitting and talking to you about some of these interesting topics, because like you said, you're very well researched, very well spoken. And, that's what I enjoy about that. So I know I definitely have to have you back on at some point.
Thank you. I would love
to. We'll have to pick some specific topics like that to cover, because everything we've talked about, we've just kind of touched on. And could really, I mean, just the Salem Witch Trials, because like talking about Salem and talking about Scotland, you see a lot of that with like what you talked about with the Appalachian root magic and,
Yep.
the granny witches and
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing, because a lot of that is also steeped in Christianity, especially
Yes.
in the Appalachians. And,
Mhm.
just it, that's something I'd love to have you on to talk about maybe at a
Thank
later
you.
date.
Yes, I would love to.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'll get with you on some dates and go ahead again and plug your shows so that people can find you. And if you've got any projects you're working on or anything coming up, go ahead and plug that as well.
I will do that. And you can hear Tim and I on Spreaker, which is a podcast platform, every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Paranormal Talk 2. Miranda has graciously put the websites up so that you can just click on it. We do have a live chat where you get to be part of either our Spookster family on Thursday or our Witchling family on Saturdays. I also do a podcast on Saturdays with my co-host, my brother from another mother, my WT, my Wonder Twin, Jim Spillin, every Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, still on that Spreaker app. It's called Corner Cauldron, where we get a little more dark and a little more creepy, a little deeper into the occultish kind of things. And we definitely, if you love rabbit holes, please join us. We will be definitely going down a lot of rabbit holes. I'm also a member of Spirit of the Sword Paranormal Resolutions. Miranda, again, has graciously put our website up on the screen in the chat. If you are having issues with the paranormal, you think you have an entity in your home, or you have a lot of bumps in the night going on that you can't explain, don't hesitate to give us a call. We will ask you to fill out the contact us form. And Jeff Brown, who's our director, is like Speedy Gonzalez when it comes to reading those things and getting back to everybody. We are an LLC, so you will be asked to sign a consent form because as a business legally, we can't enter a home unless we have permission. We also cover children with gifts. We do house blessings. And Yvonne actually does baptisms too. So she's a minister. So if you'd like to be baptized, you want to get a baptism, she's been more than happy to come out to your home and baptize you. Jim, he is part of our assistant deliverance. And Yvonne is our demonologist and our exorcist. We also have Jeff, who's our director, who does light work. He works with angels, also with spirit. And then you have me, the resident crazy person, who does her thing with spirit, contacting spirit.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you again, because I know you are so busy. And thank you to Tim for, you guys for cutting your show short tonight so that we were able to get on and have this wonderful discussion. And, everyone in the chat room, thank you for your questions, your comments, and just for being here. We really appreciate that. And if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have a great show on Thursday nights. Like I said, yeah, absolutely. And like I said before, we do have, we will not have a show next Thursday night because I will be coming back from Chicago on that night. And, as soon as I can give a little more information about what we got going on, I'll definitely be sure to put that out there and definitely be sure to have some of the folks that's going to be on this documentary on the show. Like I said, probably won't be back in time enough to have one, but maybe going live while I'm up there and some different, things going on up there as well. So, and then of course, we'll be kicking into August. Got a lot of really cool things going on at the historic Scott County Jail. We're going to be opening an escape room. So you'll have to, guys, come out, check out the website and come and see if you can escape the escape room in 60 minutes. I know that Dr. Sumner, she's really brilliant when it comes to putting these puzzles and such together. So she has been working her butt off trying to get something really cool put together that give you guys something to do on a night when you're not watching my podcast and watching, or listening to Corner Cauldron and Tim's podcast. You guys definitely got to come out and check out the escape room. Come take a flashlight tour, a ghost walk, or do a guided ghost hunt with myself or Dr. Sumner. You can find all of that information on www.historicscottcojail.com, and then also keep an eye out on the Ghost Biker page, www.ghostbikerexplorations.com, and the Facebook channel to see different events that's going to be coming up this fall. So until next week, I hope everyone has a wonderful week and stay blessed.
Bye.